There are days when everything looks perfectly fine. The light comes through your window at just the right angle. Your phone isn't buzzing with bad news. The people you care about seem okay. Maybe you even slept enough, ate properly, did the little tasks that always pile up. On paper, you're fine. Better than fine, maybe. But you can feel it, the tiniest hum underneath everything. Like your body is someplace your mind hasn't agreed to be. It's not sadness, not irritation, just movement, the kind that doesn't go anywhere. The quiet need to shift your weight, open a window, leave the room, start something, stop something, breathe differently. You tell yourself you should be grateful. You are grateful. But gratitude feels like a language you're suddenly not fluent in. You can pronounce the words, but the meaning doesn't land. You scroll for a minute or two, maybe an hour. The world is neon. Someone's vacation, someone's new relationship, someone's highlight reel glowing in blue light. You know it's not the truth. You know the rhythm of everyone's life has its own dips and flatlines. Still, a part of you starts questioning why even fine doesn't feel like enough. Why the calm days sometimes feel heavier than the chaotic ones. There's a strange kind of fatigue that comes from peace. People don't talk about that much. The way silence after too many storms feels unfamiliar, like the mind has learned to expect motion and doesn't know how to rest anymore. You sit down to watch something lighthearted, a show you love, maybe something you've already seen. It doesn't hit the same. Laughter comes to you slower these days. You're not unhappy, just detached from the part of yourself that usually reacts. It's like standing at the edge of a lake with your feet just touching the water, but the reflection doesn't quite look back. You recognize the shape, the outline, but not the feeling that used to follow. Sometimes you wonder if this is what growing up really means. Making peace with the absence of constant feeling. The way you become less thunder, more weather report. Somewhere along the line, your definition of being okay quietly shifted. You stopped waiting for excitement. You started aiming for stability because stability finally seemed achievable. And yet, when it arrived, it came with this strange side effect. A mild, persistent restlessness that doesn't ask for danger or drama, only aliveness. Psychologists sometimes call it a hedonic adaptation, though we rarely need the term. It just means the brain adjusts too quickly to comfort. What once felt like relief becomes background noise. The circuits that used to light up at small pleasures, coffee in the morning, music through your headphones, a sunset out the window, start dimming like an old marquee. Not broken, just tired of clapping for the same scene. The show didn't change, but you did. And maybe that's part of what's happening. You've grown past some things you still live inside. The routines, the people, the job, the scroll. They fit you once like a favorite sweater. Now they pull slightly at the shoulders. You keep wearing them anyway because they still look right from the outside. It's not all your fault, you know. Modern life teaches the body to sprint while sitting still. Even in rest, we brace for the next update, the next piece of bad news, the next small crisis disguised as a notification. The nervous system never fully clocks out, so when nothing's wrong, the body doesn't quite believe it. It keeps scanning, waiting for a sign that something's about to change. That vigilance, what neuroscientists might call tonic alertness, can become a kind of background hum you mistake for your own heartbeat. But there's a quieter truth underneath it. Sometimes the mind goes restless because it's run out of safe places to land. You don't necessarily want more stimulation, you just want to feel something that means something. You want your inner life to catch up to your outer one, to stop performing wellness and start inhabiting it. It's a longing not for excitement, but for congruence. That's the strange part about being quietly done. It's not burnout in the obvious sense. No dramatic crash, no tears in the shower kind of moment. It's the way your soul starts whispering, please, no more pretending. You go through the motions so automatically that even your thoughts start looping in predictable sentences. The movie of your life keeps playing, but you're no longer watching. You're narrating, half detached. Maybe the restlessness is the mind's way of asking for a new rhythm. Not louder, not faster, just truer. When everything around you tells you to keep optimizing, even rest becomes performance. You start tracking your own peace. Am I relaxed enough? Productive enough? Grateful enough? It's a strange kind of self-surveillance that looks like self-improvement. But beneath that, there's this soft ache. A part of you that wants to stop striving for emotional reports and just feel whatever quietly exists underneath. If you ever catch yourself sighing for no reason, or taking a walk, not because you need air, but because you need something, that's the space we're talking about. The almost invisible tension of being alive, but slightly misaligned with your own life. And what's fascinating, if you zoom out just a little, is how universal this quiet dissonance is. Nearly everyone you know has felt it. But because it doesn't look dramatic, we label it as nothing. We expect struggle to announce itself with tears or crises, not stillness. So people keep scrolling, keep joking, keep scheduling, trying to fix what's not quite broken. And meanwhile, the subtle ache remains unnamed, and moving through ordinary days like a low-frequency sound only you can hear. Maybe this is what self-protection looks like when the threat isn't danger, but overload. The psyche learns to dull itself slightly, to blur the edges so life hurts less. That dullness isn't failure, it's adaptation. A sign the mind has quietly begun rationing its energy, distributing it only where safety feels certain. Emotional minimalism, in a way, keeping only what feels bearable. Neuroscientists sometimes describe this as the brain's predictive coding. It learns from repetition what's likely to happen next and adjusts emotions accordingly. If most days repeat the same safe but numbing patterns, the brain stops releasing much dopamine for them. Not as punishment, just efficiency. You could say restlessness is what leaks through that efficiency. A small rebellion of the self reminding you you're still capable of wanting something more vivid. Of course, wanting isn't the same as knowing what to want. Sometimes you don't even want anything specific. You just wish your emotions had a little more color again. You miss curiosity, or the feeling of being deeply moved for no obvious reason. Remember those rare moments when something ordinary, music, a stranger's kindness, a smell from your childhood, made you feel awake from the inside? That's what the mind quietly mourns on good days that don't feel good. The world often mistakes that longing for ingratitude. You have everything. Be happy. But it's not about missing things, it's about missing connection to them. Gratitude lists and mindfulness apps can't always pierce that membrane. Some people are just built a little differently. Sensitive in the way cameras are, capturing more detail than most. Too little sensory input feels suffocating. Too much feels unbearable. You live suspended somewhere between the two. It's not a problem to solve, it's a rhythm to understand. The same way some seasons bring stillness not because something's wrong, but because the soil underneath is regenerating. Restlessness can disguise that kind of inward repair. When the outer world feels too quiet, it might be because your inner world is busy restructuring, pruning old beliefs, making space for something unnameable. There's research suggesting that boredom and restlessness often precede creative insight. The brain, deprived of novelty, starts turning inward. You looking for new associations. You might catch yourself replaying old memories, old heartbreaks, old choices, not as nostalgia, but as pattern recognition. You're rehearsing your own story, searching for where you stopped feeling fully alive. And in that search, small truths surface, not in words, but sensations. A heaviness in the chest, a particular song that suddenly feels too real, a line from a movie you can't shake. This quiet processing is still progress, though it doesn't look like it. You might even call it emotional composting, the slow decomposition of what's over so something quieter can grow. The unease you feel on good days isn't proof you're broken. It's evidence your mind isn't built for permanent plateau. It aches for depth the way lungs ache for air. You might notice how restlessness intensifies after moments of stillness. Weekends, holidays, unplanned days off. That's when the usual distractions pause just long enough for your interior voice to get a word in. And because it speaks softly, it feels like discomfort at first. But maybe it's not telling you to do anything, just to listen, to acknowledge that your emotional metabolism hasn't caught up to your surface calm. There's a fine line between craving something new and chasing noise. Sometimes the hardest part is accepting that the next step isn't external. You don't need to move cities, quit everything, or reinvent yourself overnight. Sometimes you just need to stand still long enough to feel the shift inside. The part of you that's quietly done might not want to destroy your life. It just wants permission to evolve. You can sit on a park bench, or your balcony, or even just your bed, and feel that restlessness settle into something more honest. Notice how it changes when you stop trying to interpret it as a flaw. It becomes less of a protest, more of a pulse, reminding you there's a self beneath the well-adjusted adult, the one who still looks for aliveness in small things, the rhythm of footsteps outside, the hum of the ceiling fan, the memory of laughter drifting in from another room. Because that's the secret. Even restlessness can be a kind of aliveness. It's proof you're not fully numb yet. That part of you still believes there's more to touch, more to see, more to feel, even if you can't name what it is. In that sense, the unease is your companion. It walks beside you, not destructive, not dramatic, just quietly insisting you haven't reached your full depth. And maybe that's the most respectful way to hold it. To stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and instead ask, "What part of me is trying to wake up?" When you start listening with that question, the whole tone of restlessness changes. It becomes an invitation, not an indictment. a call to curiosity rather than crisis. You begin to realize that life isn't meant to feel like a permanent high or even a permanent calm. It's closer to a tide, coming in, going out, sometimes gentle, sometimes strong, always moving quietly beneath the surface. So when you have those good days that feel hollow, maybe they're just low tides in disguise. The water will return when it's ready. It always does. Until then, you don't have to fill the silence with purpose. You can just coexist with it. Make some tea, listen to rain, watch something old, breathe without chasing meaning. Let your mind know it doesn't have to earn its rest. And if the unease lingers longer than you'd like, that's all right too. It's not an enemy standing at your door. It's a messenger sitting beside you. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to name it completely. Sometimes knowing it exists is enough to feel a little less alone in it. Maybe that's why you're hearing this now, not because something's wrong, but because you were ready to notice, ready to understand that even peace has texture, that sometimes feeling restless on a good day means you're just alive in a quiet, complicated way, a mind that refuses to go numb entirely, a heart that remembers movement, even when still. And maybe that recognition, that gentle permission to feel without justification, is the truest kind of rest after all.